What's up, heroes, and welcome to Saturday Morning Heroes. I am your host, Small Time Hero. Let's talk rocket power. I know. I missed last week, but I'm here this week, and I'm working on something, so we're going to see how it work out, and if it work out, y'all can just say thank you. Okay, so this week we are talking about Rocket Power, and Rocket Power is a show that came on Nickelodeon between the years of 1999 to 2004. Rocket Power was a show about extreme sports and the children who love them. So let's stop right there and jump into the show. So our main characters, we have Reggie Rocket, Otto Rocket, Twister Rodriguez, and Samuel Dullard, or Sam Dullard. These are the four main characters of the show. Sammy is the new kid, and he is donned as the Squid. So everybody has their own nicknames, but let's go through their actual names. We have Reggie Rocket, who goes by Reggie, who also is one of our only girls in the show. We have a few other characters, but she is one of the main characters that is a girl. We have Oswald Otto Rocket, who is Reggie's younger brother, but also just as extreme. We have Maurice Twister Rodriguez, who is their next door neighbor and Otto's best friend. We also have Samuel Squid Dullard, who is the new kid, but also Reggie's really close confidant and one of the group. For our reoccurring characters, we have Ray Rocket, Tito Makani, I think I'm saying that right, Tito Makani, Paula Dullard, which is Samuel Dullard's mother, Violet and Merv Stapleton, which are the Rockets' next door neighbors, Sherry Chin and Trish, who are some of Reggie's closest friends, Lars Rodriguez, who is related to Twister. We have Pie Piston, who is part of Lars's crew, Sputs Ringley, who is also part of Lars's crew, and Animal, who is also part of Lars's crew. These are older boys who live in the neighborhood who happen to have a close connection to our gang, but are bullies to our gang, of course, and Lars being Twister's older brother. We have Keone Makani, Mackenzie Benders, Conroy Blanc, Eddie, Prince of the Netherworld, Cleo, and we also have Officer Shirley as a recurring character. She is the officer of Ocean Shores, and she actually shows up pretty often to handle most things with the Stapletons because they call the police Merv calls the police so often. Okay, so this is a little out of order, but I really want to get into this because actually this is the reason why I made this episode. Raymundo's finances. So Raymundo has earned a lot of money over his tenure as a person on this planet. He first got his start actually acting. Raymundo has had a few acting gigs. He also became a surfing legend. He's had volleyball tournaments where they earned money, him and Tito. He's done movies where he's actually earned money. He's had movies made about him as a legendary surfer. Of course, he has his main financial staple, which would be the Shore Shack, which is a staple in Ocean Shores. Honestly, it's so much a staple that at one point in the series, a franchise company wants to actually buy him out. The location on the pier is actually pretty nice. If you look at the show, if you were a business owner, you would want that location, honestly. And it's so cool because right up under the Shore Shack, he has Rocket Repairs, which is a repair company and a surfboard company where you can rent surfboards, you can buy a surfboard, you can get your surfboards or your skateboards fixed. He fixes everything extreme, which is convenient for our gang, of course, because they are so into extreme sports. But a big part of it is the fact that their father can literally fix all of these things, and he runs one of the it's not the only board shop we ever see, because we do see multiple board shops because there will be a big thing, but it is one of the most prevalent board shops we see, and it probably shows up the most because you see it right up under the Shore Shack. So honestly, Raymundo's finances are kind of crazy. Like he's doing pretty well for himself. He does live in Southern California. He does have 2 children. He does have multiple businesses, but like Raymundo's doing pretty well, honestly. Like, and there's points in the show where the kids go on vacation. They go to Hawaii, they go to New Zealand, they go everywhere, and they often make trips back and forth to, I would imagine, Big Bear in real life, but actually like they make back and forth trips to California, well, to wherever they snowboard in California. And at one point in one of the episodes where they actually go snowboarding, it does sound like one of the characters had a Canadian accent. So I'm not sure. Maybe they went to Canada to snowboard. But yeah, at one point we actually do hear a Canadian accent. So honestly, I don't know. Like, Raymundo was making really good money and he was doing well for those kids. And at one point, like I said, he does try and sell the Shore Shack to a franchising company. They get to move to this really, really nice part of Ocean Shores. But at the same time, like, their house is nice. The area they live in is not the ghetto. Like, I don't know. Raymundo was bringing in money, if we really want to talk about it. So where they went snowing was actually Mount Baldy, which is funny, but also I wanted to put that in there because I did say Canada, but they don't specify where Mount Baldy is. So it could be Canada or it could be like a version of Big Bear in California. I know Big Bear gets cold and you snowboard there. So let's move on to the plot of the show, okay? It's about 4 really good friends who are growing up in Southern California, Ocean Shores. They are all really into extreme sports while still having their own like niches and things that they are really into. You have Reggie, who has her zine, but she is also very proficient at skateboarding, a great skater, a great surfer, an immaculate snowboarder. We see her play field hockey. We see her play ice hockey. Reggie's an elite athlete and also really into magazines, and she has her own magazine. Otto, on the other hand, is a professional level extreme sporter. Honestly, everything that he does is extreme. Everything that he does is more extreme. And honestly, we see that he is actually very, very good for his age. Like, there's an episode where Otto turns 11. So throughout most of these episodes, he's 10. And we see him ripping better than a lot of the adults. Like, we see adults wanting to see him. And it makes sense because Raymundo is a legend and he is a pro athlete. Reggie and Otto are siblings. They express themselves through their multiple sports and very close passions. Reggie and Otto share Raymundo as a father. We also have Twister, Maurice Twister Rodriguez, who is, for albeit our cameraman, our director, our creative content creator before it was a thing. Twister has his camera and he is filming at all times. We do see that Twister is proficient in most extreme sports. He is not as great as Otto or Reggie, but he is very good, so he is able to keep up in order to shoot his movies, of course, because 00 Twister Vision, duh. But like, seriously, Twister is he's a really good friend. He is apparently a very talented singer, even though like there's an episode where his voice starts to change, where he goes through maturity. But of course, he does all of the gang's videography. And honestly, it's pretty good. He's made his own movie at the age of 10 going into 11. So that's kind of cool. And we have Sam Dullard. Sam, of course, is the new kid in town. And while being the new kid, he also isn't as well versed in extreme sports as his counterparts are. But it's okay because he is trying and he is getting better. So we actually see Sam like go through the motions of learning how to surf and learning how to skateboard. And one of the most memorable episodes is Sammy actually learning to surf, where they figured out the issue wasn't necessarily Sam's skill level, but his board not being, wide or big enough to support him. What I will say is, while I did enjoy doing this breakdown, there are some very, very old cliche and kind of cringe conversations around weight, especially towards Sammy, which really does kind of suck. But at the same time, it's kind of like, of its time, so I won't go too far in on it, but at the same time, we do have those moments where we find out that a lot of the stuff, like they make fun of Sam's weight and his eating and things like that. The show does it and the kids do it, so there are those cringy moments. So of course we actually see the guys go through their days of being extreme sports kids. Let's jump into some of our key episodes. So our key episodes are episodes for you to go watch in order to get a better understanding on some of the characters, on what you need to know for the characters, and like just give you a good understanding of the emotions of the show, which those are the episodes that I try to include in my key episodes. I only do 5 episodes a season, so let's jump into it. Season 1, New Squid on the Block. That is actually one of the very first episodes where we are introduced to Squid, who is Sammy, and we find out where he's from, which is Nebraska, and that he's moved to Ocean Shores with his mom. Sammy is actually a child of divorce. Our second key episode of season 1 is Secret Spot. Secret Spot is an episode where the Rockets actually ask Raymundo, can they take Twister and Squid to their secret surf spot, which is a very big deal because it's no shoobies there, which at this moment the Ocean Shores beach is being ran over by shoobies. So with them going to their secret spot, they're surfing all day. There is unlimited waves to catch. It's no sand. There are no tourists to get around, and so they ask Raymundo, can they take Sammy and Twister to the secret spot? Raymundo agrees after questioning a few times why, and he agrees, and they actually take them. But Lars is listening in and also makes Twister tell him where the secret spot is. We also find out that Sammy's mom wants to know where the secret spot is too, because she wants to know where her son is, which is understandable, which I feel like that was not an issue. The issue was Lars finding out. When Lars found out where the secret spot was, that became the whole issue. And of course they crash the gang at the secret spot and blow up their spot. We do actually see the fallout of the secret spot in another episode. I don't think it's another one of my key episodes, so I'm gonna go ahead and mention it here. We actually see the fallout where like Raymundo and the gang and Tito are actually like not accepted because of how much the spot got out and people started coming, and so they're actually not accepted because they're not locals to that specific beach. Of course, like they didn't think that anybody knew about the beach, but of course people knew. So yeah. Our next key episode would be Father's Day Off, which we actually get to meet Sammy's father. We did discuss that Sammy is a child of divorce, but Mr. Duller actually comes in town with the idea of taking Sam to a few different places, and he sees that Sam has actually made friends, which he invites his friends, which, I mean, I feel like a parent would do. Like, honestly, if I'm a parent, my kid has friends, I'm going to invite them so they can all have fun together. But at the same time, you have to pay attention to your child, and that's exactly what Sammy's father did not do. The whole time they were going to these different places, because he did show up and he did take them all, but he was on his phone handling business the whole time, which I feel like kind of signatures like what caused the divorce in the first place, especially because Sam's mom seems to be super had crazy anxiety, especially like we see when Sam goes to Hawaii and she's like, you have to call me 50 times, you have to write me letters, postcards, if you can't get in touch with me, I'm going to lose my mind. But also he did kind of scare her when they went to New Zealand, and they did get lost when they went to the Grand Canyon. So honestly, it's just, however you choose to see it, to be quite honest. The next episode is D is for Dad. In this episode, we actually see Raymundo getting ready to take the crew out on a surfing trip, and Otto actually has to stay behind because he got a D and he got a bad grade in class. So therefore, he actually has to stay with the Simpletons, which of course no one wants to do, but he does actually have to stay with them. And while everybody is kind of having fun, they really do miss Rocket Boy. So Raymundo decides that the next day they're going to go get him and bring him, and so they do, and we actually see him get to enjoy the surfing trip. But I don't know if Otto learned a lesson in all of this, which is kind of the conversation throughout the whole show. Like, Otto never learned a lesson. Our final key episode of season 1 would be Zine Dreams, where Reggie, Otto, Twister, and Squid are actually playing a game of Follow the Leader, and Otto is going a little too far and skating really fast. Reggie, who normally can keep up with Otto very easily, actually tells Otto to slow down. Otto does not listen. Reggie actually wipes out pretty bad, which she doesn't do on a very regular basis. This is a very new thing for Reggie, to be quite honest with you. And when she does wipe out Twister, and Otto will not allow her to forget it, they tell everyone in town that she wiped out. And so Reggie gets a little get back with her zine. And she talks about how they slept with their old stuffies, how they used to take baths together. She talked about some really embarrassing things, but one of her friends, Sherry, actually talks her out of printing it, but Sam, who is her co-editor, came over and printed it anyway and distributed it. It's a really good episode, and it focuses on Reggie, which I love. Season 2, all about Josh. So Josh is actually the new kid who has moved to Ocean Shores, and not a lot of people are actually taking well to Josh or even giving him the time of day, to be quite honest. But of course, Sam, understanding the new guy and being the new guy at one point, says, hey, I'm gonna take a liking to Josh, and of course he does. And Josh turns out to be a ton of bullshit. Josh uses Sammy to get close to the Rockets, and then once he feels like he's close enough, starts to rag on Sammy about him being weird or about him being a nerd and things like that, which fucking sucks, to be quite honest. Sam actually does figure out what he is doing, but he kind of figures out, which does give us a good look into, or gives us a tiny peek into what Sam feels like he's worth, because he's very easily like, you guys can just go ahead and I don't have to be a part of it. And of course, the gang tells him, hey, you're our friend. We don't even know this dude. We were hanging out with him because you said he was cool. We don't have to hang with him. And we find out that the gang is truly Sammy's friend, which I feel like is a great wrap up to that episode, but also at the same time, it kind of shows you that Sammy doesn't have the best self-esteem. The longest day. So in this episode, the gang actually gets challenged by Lars and his gang to a competition over land, air, and sea, and whoever wins this competition will have their name and likeness hung in the short shack on the wall of fame. It's actually a pretty good episode where you actually see them compete, because a lot of times the only time we see Lars and the gang compete is during hockey, and of course the gang actually whoops Lars' ass all the time. Our next key episode of season 2, Mr. B's in the house. So Conroy is actually a teacher. So over the summer, Conroy completed his master's degree, and he becomes a teacher at Otto, Reggie, Squid, and Twister's school. And he becomes Otto and Twister's teacher, which makes Otto and Twister think that it's a fucking game, but apparently Conroy came to actually teach. And it's a really cute episode, but also it shows you that while Conroy is, of course, the operator of Madtown, he actually has a degree, and he is educated, and he gives back to his community. The next episode is called What's That Smell?, where Otto actually volunteers the group to clean up the beach in order for the beach to be named Rocket Beach. Well, the crew actually spends maybe countless hours early in the morning cleaning up the beach, and they go to surf, and they actually find the exact same trash that they were surfing among, and they find out that there's a bigger problem, so they actually go down to search where the problem starts at, which takes them to the county dump, which actually has a hole in it and is allowing the trash to leak into the ocean, which is filtering back into the beach, and of course causing trash in the surf. Well, our gang actually gets it handled, and they are able to keep the beach clean. Therefore, the beach is still Rocket Beach. Legends and their falls. So Ocean Shores is hosting their annual Legends and their Kids ceremony and competition. Reggie Reggie, Otto, and Raymundo, of course, are really excited because Raymundo is part of the Legends. Otto is really excited for the contest because he's really excited to prove that he is ready to be professional and to race or to see where he lands amongst these legends and their children. And it's a really good episode because it does dive into the idea that Raymundo is a legendary surfer. He has stories told about him. Season 3, Bruce Man's Cave. So Otto gets the gang to support him in going to Dead Man's Cave in order to race down. It is one of the episodes that shows you how hard-headed, how stubborn, and how just out of it sometimes Otto is. So that's a really good episode to check out. Our next episode is Netherworld Night, where we actually have Eddie, Prince of the Underworld. He invites the gang over to spend the night. At first, everything seems okay, but the gang actually is a little bit hesitant because Eddie is a bit weird. But then after actually going to his house and accepting his invite and making it weird by only wanting to stay in the backyard, they find out that Eddie is very normal and his house is very normal. He's just a weird kid. Sam, king of kickball. So in this episode, Conroy is actually subbing for the gym class, and the game of the week is actually kickball, and Conroy introduces it to them. Sam says that he's played kickball so much at home that he knows the game very well. Well, everybody learns the game and everybody actually has a really good time, but because of some of the ideas surrounding Sam's weight, he isn't picked for a team first, which we all know, like when we were younger, being picked for like gym teams was like kind of anxiety boosting for some people. And so Sam is picked, but we find out that Sam is actually really, really good at kickball. So the next time Sam actually is made captain and he doesn't choose Otto for his team. And Otto, being the selfish person that he is very upset with that. While Otto is decent at kickball, Sam is actually really, really good at kickball. And this is kind of a thing that we see over throughout the series, is that Otto is very, very good at the things that he's truly good at, but he's such a naturally talented athlete that he is annoyed when he's not the best at the things, when he's not the very best at certain things. And we see that this does happen a few times where Twister is really good at street luge versus Otto not as good as Twister. So we do see these things happen a few times in the show. That old skateboard. So Otto finds an old skateboard in the trash, and while he's not concerned with the skateboard, Sammy is actually smitten with this skateboard. He takes the skateboard home, he refurbishes it, he brings it back to life, and then, he's kind of riding it, and it's a wide board, and it's an older board from the 70s, so it does give him a little bit more like center of gravity, and of course he does crazy tricks on it. Well, Otto finds out that Sammy has restored this actually vintage skateboard. They find out that it was vintage from the 70s, and he's jealous and he actually wants to steal the skateboard. He does actually end up taking it from him, but he does apologize to Sammy and gives the skateboard back. But once again, Otto's a terrible fucking person. Sorry. The next key episode is Out of My Pit. The gang actually finds a ton of driftwood over on the beach, and they decide they want to build like a clubhouse kind of thing with the driftwood that they found on the beach. And so they actually put together a driftwood clubhouse. But of course, Lars comes through and finds out that they have this clubhouse, and he tries to take it from them, and they basically battle Lars to keep their clubhouse. We do see the clubhouse actually come back up in 00 Twist Vision, I think, when they make the movie. So it is a reoccurring thing. Key episode number 1 of season 4, Womp Race 2000. When one of the steepest hills in Ocean Shores, known as the California Incline, is repaved, the gang decides that they actually want to go and race the hill. Well, Lars and his crew actually hear about this, and they challenge our gang to a race. And we actually see our gang versus Lars's crew racing down the incline. But the issue is Sammy actually goes down the incline and almost breaks his neck. So we find out that this incline is extremely steep and very, very scary. But of course, they have to do it. Every single person wipes out. And I think somebody from Lars's team doesn't actually take, like, he just wusses out completely and doesn't go. The only person to actually make it down in one piece but still fucking afraid is Sammy. And we see Sammy actually make it to the bottom. And it's really cool because, of course, he's not the most coordinated, but he does make it down to the California incline, which is a dope episode. Our next episode is Lingos. So when the Shoobies once again take over the beach, they start to copy our gang's slang and the things that they say. And like you actually see Shoobies calling other people Shoobies, and they're like, "What the fuck? You're the Shoobie." But of course, because that irritates them as it would do kids, they decide that they're going to try and create new language, which they do successfully create some new language, which is almost instantly adopted by the Shoobies, so it's just kind of like, why? Cinco de Twisto. In this episode, we actually find out that Twister does still sing. Throughout the season, we find out that he's a singer. But in this episode, Twister has a very special song to sing for Cinco de Mayo, in which Twister is really actually important to Twister, and he's very excited about it. But his voice starts to crack because Twister is going through puberty. And of course, he doesn't sound the greatest with his voice cracking, but he is actually encouraged to still sing because he enjoys doing it no matter what his voice sounds like. And we get a really like warm moment from Twister, and of course he does sing and he sounds bad, but he went through with it. So in these next sets of key episodes, there are actually more episodes than one, but it's one idea. So it's still just one key episode, but it's multiple episodes. The Island of the Minihuna. So in the Island of Minihuna, we actually see Raymundo fall in love. He falls in love with Tito's cousin Lolani, and we see how that goes, and we actually see the gang in Hawaii and how they enjoy Hawaii and what they do while they're in Hawaii. And of course, because they are in Hawaii, there has to be a cursed item afoot. And of course, it's Sammy that picks up the cursed item from the sacred grounds. And we have one of those situations where everything seems to go wrong until the cursed item is put back. But of course, we also get Raymundo falling in love, which I felt like was a big storyteller in this series. So that is the next. Those are like 3 episodes. I think it's like 3 or 4 episodes when they go to Hawaii, but that encompasses that key episode. So go watch those episodes if you actually want to see how they get their stepmother and Raymundo falling in love and all the drama that ensued, and actually Raymundo almost biting the dust. So yeah, it's actually a really good episode. In our last key episode, we have the big day where we find out that Raymundo and Lolani are actually getting married. This, of course, is a group of episodes that happened over, a few episodes. The story is told over a few episodes. In this story, Leilani actually comes to Ocean Shores and she's getting ready to marry Raymundo. Of course, we get a wedding episode, but we also find out that the new indoor skate park, Zero Gravity Zone, is opening also, and the guys are really excited. And at first, the actual dates don't line up. I think in the initial episodes, the Zero Gravity opening was like 6 days away, and the wedding was like 2 weeks away. But through a series of unfortunate events, the wedding gets pushed up, and of course it intersects with the day of the Zero Gravity opening. Well, we know who we've been talking about this whole time. Of course, Otto is very selfish about it, does not care about his father's happiness, and is like, I'm going to that, and I'm going to ruin this shit right here. And honestly, he almost does. Norlani almost leaves and goes to Hawaii. It comes down almost to the very last moment where Otto actually apologizes. Reggie admits that she's been kind of a brat too, and Norlani comes into the family, and they get married. And actually, that's the end of the series. We see Raymundo get married. There's like 2 episodes after, but of course, you have to go watch those. Those aren't my key episodes because it's not that big of a deal. And if you don't have this episode, then you don't necessarily understand those. So, yes, go watch these episodes and let me know what you think. And if I have a question for you, do you think Rocket Power still holds up? Or is it a relic, a good relic, but a relic of its time? Tell me in the comments. Saturday Morning Heroes episode is never done without a little drama or a little behind the scenes thing. We do know the company Klasky and Csupó created Rugrats, Wild Thornberrys, so many other Nickelodeon staples, was the producers and the creators of Rocket Power. Rocket Power was a concept that Arlene said she came up with while watching her children go through like their extreme sports phases and living in Southern California, and their kids like taking up these sports and actually having to do them with them. And she talks about like that is the inspiration behind the show because she had 2 young boys. But while Rocket Power was a hit for us and we loved it, it was a relic of its time because Nickelodeon cited that Rocket Power was older looking and it was dated. The animation wasn't clean as much as like, let's say, a SpongeBob or a Danny Phantom or even, Fairly Odd Parents at the time. And there was no need for this animation. While Nickelodeon did come to Klasky and Csupó and ask them to kind of update their animation or make it for a modern time, they were very much so like, no, we're not doing that. And so Nickelodeon stopped making their series. Is like, we're talking about 13 series that Nickelodeon had produced and put out, and they started working with each other. And in that moment in 2004, they actually stopped working with each other. They fell out, which is honestly interesting because if you think about it, with Our Real Monsters, Wild Thornberrys, Rugrats, Rocket Power, Klasky and Csupó pretty much created Nickelodeon's 90s Nicktoons. So it's really crazy that it ended that way. But one thing that I will say, which I feel like is really interesting, maybe I'll kind of make a little counter or something for these episodes, is that Arlene and Csupó actually got their start working on The Simpsons. If you remember early on, The Simpsons had a very distinct animation, especially for The Simpsons shorts, and that's because it was Arlene and it was Csupó and it was Klasky and Csupó who actually created those shorts, those animated shorts. They actually did a lot of graphic design. I don't know all of my people out there who have watched In Living Color. They created the title sequence or the title for Living Color. So this is a production home or production company, animated production company that's been around for a long time with hands everywhere, and of course who animated our childhoods, at least mine definitely. I don't want to tell my age right now, but definitely animated mine. So it's crazy how they actually left Nickelodeon. It's honestly insane. But of course, Klasky and Csupó are divorced. They were married, but they are not anymore. And we did actually see them update some of their animation because we did get grown up. We did get Rugrats all grown up. And of course, Rugrats has had like maybe 3 or 4 featured films. So, I mean, they're not doing bad, but of course, the way it ended wasn't great, but they're not doing bad by any feat. So yeah, don't feel bad or anything. But yeah, so that was actually the little bit of tea that I could find about Nickelodeon and Arlene and about Nickelodeon and Klasky and Csupó. So tell me in the comments what you think. Do you think that there's a place for a rocket power now, or do you think that, of course, it is a product of its time and that's where it should stay? Also, tell me if you liked this show growing up. Like, was a rocket power part of your Saturday morning cartoon routine, or was it your Friday night cartoon routine? Because I definitely was a rocket power kid. So were you? And make sure you tune in for our next episode of Saturday Morning Heroes. I will see you guys later. Bye, heroes.